Higher than mountains and higher than clouds, your frown brings me down. But how should I feel when you're not around? You're a bird in flight, so independent when you're out of sight. Am I your empty cage on the ground? How should I feel when you're not around? Like the air that I breathe, I think I might die without you. Do you need me to? Was the last time I saw you the last time I'll see you? I wait for your sound and wonder, how should I feel when you're not around? Like the air that I breathe, I think I might die without you.
Welcome to the Meeting Underground. We appreciate you joining us today. Our special guest is indie songwriter, musician, artist, Sean West. Thank you for joining us, Sean.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the song that we just heard.
Yeah, so that song, first off, it started out as just that finger picking sort of melody, definitely very like inspired by those early blues roots kind of things, and it stayed that way for months, maybe even a year. Just this little thing, I just pick up the guitar and just jam on that for a second, and I kind of never thought it would be a song at all. And then one day I started just sort of improvising lyrics over it. The melody's kind of built into the guitar riff, so I was just doubling that. The song essentially is about being overly dependent on your significant other and not really knowing what to do about it, or not really caring, but knowing that it's not right, knowing that it's not how it's supposed to be.
The name of the song is When You're Not Around.
Yeah. When you're not around. And so it's sort of that feeling of like, oh, that person's gone. Now I feel like I'm like a lost puppy and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Really like it. I like the song.
Thanks.
It's really good. Some friends of ours, Dakota Kyle and Tyler Waffle.
Yeah.
Those guys have been doing a showcase every other week at the Dose in East Nashville here. And about a month ago, I got to see you. Last week's episode with Jude Quinn, you both played the same bill.
Yeah, we played the same bill. He was really good. I never heard him before.
Yeah,
he sounds great.
So we did a show with him. That's the last week's show. But when I saw Sean, I really like his style. And I went up and asked him. And then it was a little bit of time before we actually, I think I didn't ask you. I saw you the next night.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Another gig.
I think we were at Tony Rainey's
Rainey's over at the Bowery.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where I saw him the second night. And so I asked him, and that's how he ended up here.
Mm-hmm.
And really glad he's here. Love his music. Tell us a little bit about your background. How long have you been in Nashville?
Well, I've been in Nashville about 4.5 years, coming on 5.
Yeah.
And when I moved here, everyone used to say, "Oh, it's a 5-year town. You got to be here for 5 years before anything happens." So maybe that's true.
Yeah.
But
it's a tough town. There's so much talent. We've talked about that in every show.
Yeah. Well, you make a good point. There's so much talent, which is both like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Because there's, great people to book shows with, and really great musicians you can hire out for a band. But then there's just so many other people competing for the same space. But yeah, so anyway, I've been here for 5 years, almost.
About 5 years.
Moved here from Boston, which is where I went to college. And
You
then-
came for music.
Yeah,
You came
I
to
moved here specifically for the music. Started out, had an internship at Blackbird Studios and I didn't finish it. I probably should have, but I
Yeah.
didn't. And then sort of settled in, kind of doing like recording engineering here and there, like producing,
Right.
and I thought that was going to be my whole thing. My whole existence was just being in a studio and trying to arrange songs and all of that.
Yeah, you really like it.
I definitely
I love
love
it,
that, and I think I'm really grateful for the skills I've acquired doing it, and the time I've done it. But I also don't want to just do that. So
Right.
like, I would say the last 6 or 8 months, I said, okay, I'm still gonna do those things, but I'm going to really focus in on my own music again, because I felt like there was always been something missing when I was just recording music.
Right.
Particularly, I mean, writing is a big part, but also playing live. Like, I really missed playing live.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, I get really stressed out ahead of time, but then it's this big payoff.
Yeah, it's always the return. That's where
Yeah.
the artist gets the return, because you actually get to have the feedback
Mhm.
and you get to have the interaction with an audience.
Yeah, you get the interaction is huge. Even messing up and realizing like, hey, that's okay. Like,
Yeah.
you moved on. Like,
Get more comfortable when you know that.
yeah, I always feel like I finally settle in on like the third or fourth song, and then it's just a good time.
Yeah.
Uh,
I want to take you back. I want to go back a
Sure.
little bit. I want to go back to your beginnings.
yeah, let's do it.
Originally from
Grew up in a tiny little truck stop town called Monument, Colorado.
Colorado.
It was about halfway between Colorado Springs and Denver. And there, there's not really a whole huge music scene in the city or the town I grew up in, so we'd always be commuting down south to Colorado Springs or up to Denver.
What'd your folks do?
My folks, my mother she was a veterinarian. She just retired last year. And my dad was a software engineer.
Any musical or artistic thing with them, or?
My mom came from a super musical family. She's the only non-musician that came out of that family. My uncle is a professional bassoonist. My aunt is a professional cello player. And then my grandfather was a recording engineer and an organist, like a pipe organ.
Wow.
And then my grandmother was...
So it's in the genes.
It's way, it's baked in
Yeah.
there. And they all do that professionally.
Yeah. You got any brothers, sisters, or anything?
My sister, I just have one sister. She, for the longest time, she was going to be professional oboist. And then she was thinking about, maybe you should get into like conducting or something like
Right.
that. But once she hit college, she just totally lost interest in it. About halfway through college, and had a total 180. And now she sort of followed, I guess you could say followed like my mom's side of things, where she got into science and ended up getting her doctorate in psychology.
Oh, wow.
And so now she's like researching criminal psychology and
Right.
going to courts and researching,
Wow, that's interesting.
trying to push the boundaries of what we know about the
Yeah.
human brain, which I think is great.
Yeah.
It could not be more different than what I'm doing.
So when did you start playing guitar, or did you start with guitar?
I started on piano. I had to have been like 5. I don't remember. It was like I've always had a piano
Yeah.
around. I played piano all the way up until about middle school and like 6th grade, and then I switched to bassoon because I thought my uncle was cool, so I played bassoon. And then like 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, somewhere in there, my band teacher was like, "Hey, we need a bass player for the jazz band, and you're the only one who might be interested who knows how to read bass clef." So I learned how to play bass for that. I did that for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, and then coming in on like first year, like freshman year of high school, I started to pick up the electric guitar, and then branch out to acoustic.
You start writing then, or mostly learning instruments?
Yeah, no, I was always writing something. I mean, I remember I wrote my first piece when I was, I think, probably like 8, somewhere between 8 and 10 on piano, and I wrote it down and everything. I didn't just play it. But yeah, so as soon as I started to learn the guitar and knew like 3 or 4 chords, I was trying to come up with my own songs.
Right.
At that time, it was all instrumental stuff. I didn't have any idea that I'd ever be a singer. I never wanted to write lyrics. It was just like, I want to play these 4 chords and play them loud. Like,
But one of the things in your live performances that your singing I really like, that high tenor kind of thing where you don't, it stands out.
sure.
Everybody doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. I like how you put it together into your music and writing and stuff.
Thanks. That's a big compliment. It definitely wasn't always that way. That's always been the thing that's kind of lagged behind. Trying to work extra hard to get a good tone
Integrate it in.
and integrate it and actually have good intonation. It's always been a struggle for me, but I feel like I'm getting better as time goes on. So it's encouraging, but also.
Well, I'll leave them.
Yeah, they can decide. They can decide if that works.
I like it. I don't care what you think.
No, when I first started singing, it was just this gravelly. I wanted to be like AC/DC. It was kind of funny. Like,
it's funny. I started out. I had such a high voice when I was singing when I was young.
Sure.
They called me Screechy.
No.
My voice was. But it was when I got older and I spent a number of years smoking cigarettes, which I don't recommend anybody to do it, but I did it, and it took my voice and brought it down.
Yeah,
and it brought me down into a more.
You just take that whole thing down.
It brought the blues in me out.
Yeah, I'll have it.
But. So, how did you end up in Nashville? I know you ended up here. You came from music.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was that transition like?
So the transition, it came from, there was, I went to music college, and there was always this, went to Berkeley, which is a music college in Boston, and they did this trip every year to Nashville during spring break, and like, hey, there's like a huge industry here, we have connections here, like, come check it out, we'll take like, I don't know, 3 or 4 dozen of you all down there, so you can just see the place. So I did that, and I was like, this is a cool spot. It's not too huge of a city.
No, it's actually a small town.
Yeah.
It's the little big town, that's why they...
Yeah, and people are scared
really
because it's growing, but like, it's not that big still.
Yeah, when I first moved here, I started realizing the shortcuts between one side of town and the other side of town, and I realized this is only a few miles away.
Yeah,
it's like
this isn't LA where you have like 100 miles to get across.
I was from the Detroit area. And
sure.
I came up. I rose up. I grew up in the Motown area, music and stuff like that.
That's
I was in funk music and all that. I've told that over. You're all bored of that. But Nashville. I've lived in Florida for a number of years, 4 years, and then I've lived here for the last 12 years or so. We lived in actually longer than that. We've been in Tennessee for longer, but moving to Nashville is the best city I've ever lived in. I love it. I just love the city, and I don't know why.
Yeah, well, I
just love it. Everywhere you go, there's that artistic edge of things and that sensibility of things. It's not what a lot of people think. It's not all the big,
there's
posh stuff and big glittery rock.
There certainly is that too. There's a bunch of other people who moved to maybe even make a living doing that, but then they have these other artistic side projects that are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of just cool things going on.
Well, I want to go into your influences, and I'm going to read right off in your Facebook page.
Yeah, sure.
It says, Sean West is a Nashville-based art, folk, and indie songwriter, drawing his influences from the likes of Mississippi John Hurt, Robert Johnson, Neil Young, Elliott Smith, Bon Iver. He blends sounds both old and new to create something entirely different. I'm going to ask you, which I ask everybody, about influences. You spoke about those. When you were younger, and you started moving into songwriting and guitar, I think, that period of your life, who were the influences that you, and there's no holds barred.
No, totally.
You can say whatever it is.
Well, I remember my first CD I ever bought with my own money was Queens of the Stone Age, Songs for the Deaf. And then I branched out from there and quickly found myself into like classic rock. Bought this like double disc greatest hits set of Led Zeppelin, and then also bought this like triple disc set of live Led Zeppelin, and that was like I was hooked at that point. And branched out from there to like Jimi Hendrix.
I have a big picture of Zeppelin over here, covered with all of the lyrics, the show sheets.
Yeah.
But Zeppelin was just really, really, really influential.
Oh, totally.
One of the best of it. The period I grew up in and stuff.
The thing is, like when I was first into Zeppelin, it was all about, because I'm a guitarist, I was all about the guitar, all about all the licks and the solos and everything. Now I've listened to all that stuff so many times. I'm bored with the guitar.
Yeah.
Now it's all about that rhythm section is so good. Like those drums and bass, like it's unreal. It grooves so hard. So that's what I listen to it now for. Yeah. And that's how I appreciate it.
Bonham's just incredible.
Unreal.
Monster drummer.
Really, I mean, just like the feel, like the tempo, to be able to have that much intricacy while playing that loud.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That was one of the things good about them. That was one of the great things about them was that, they were this hard edged, and they kind of pioneered that and some of the influences of metal and stuff, but they really were a sensitive blues band.
Especially the early stuff.
Oh, they were
Oh my
just
gosh.
so really good. Tasteful. That's why it stands up today, you know. It's like
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So other influences that you went on?
Yeah,
As you
branched
developed.
out to Jimi Hendrix and then on to like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Just big guitar bands at this point.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in there, I got hooked on like Miles Davis and Cannonball Adderley, Wes Montgomery. Like I started sort of dive into this jazz stuff. For a while, I was really into just the really fast bebop stuff. But now the stuff I'm into is it's this slower, really kind of soulful jazz. Definitely like when Coltrane plays like a ballad, like there's nothing better than that.
I just posted one of his things online. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's just unreal and unearthly. It's just wonderful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I was going to ask you about your writing process.
Sure. Yeah.
If you want to continue on any of your
No.
influences.
Yeah. No. That's fine.
I just like, what is it like? How does a song come together for you? And I know that it's not always the same. Most everybody will say that. But
Yeah.
What are the parameters of how you write music?
Well,
Beginning from the first sparks to the finished products.
sometimes, and I think the best songs that I have start with an idea, a concept. Maybe just a passing thought that I'm like. Usually, I'm looking for something that grabs me emotionally, whether it be a lyric idea or just a concept or even a guitar part. But the songs I've been happiest with are the ones that start with a thought that made me really feel something. And it's not necessarily always a thought that I totally agree with in my life. Like I have a song where the thought that started the song was, a friend of mine was leaving. He was leaving town. He was moving to France.
Right.
And I had this thought that if I left, would anyone care? And not for very long, but for a split second, I believed no one would care. No one would notice. They would just keep going on about their life. And so I wrote a song about that. And I don't actually think that no one would care, but I'm looking for that just sort of punch you in the gut moment to branch out from. Maybe it becomes a song about me. Maybe it becomes a song about somebody else. But it's just looking for that one little spark. That or a lot of times it'll be the equivalent of that in a melody I write on guitar,
right.
of something where I'm just like start to really either I can't get out of my head or I just really feel like sad right. or feel really happy from it.
Right. I talked about the idea of storytelling in one of the very early episodes. I've been that way for a long time. I write stories. I take on characters and things. I like telling stories. So I'll be sometimes the most despicable person in the world.
Yeah.
While and people get this idea that that must be you. No, it's a story.
Yeah.
I love storytelling. Yeah. Music is the best. It's such a great format to tell a story. You can tell stories from good people, bad people, all kinds of stuff. So I have no restrictions about that. I love to just write, and if it's a thought and it goes into somewhere that's not
necessarily where the thought started or anything.
I just say, well, who is this and what are we talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And so you go and work.
I think the thing about writing songs, though, specifically story songs, that is so difficult and such a fun challenge is how can you compress this whole story into a 2.5-minute pop song? Like, how do you do it?
That's fun.
I mean, it
is a challenge.
You might have like 8 lines in your verse and maybe only 6 syllables a line.
You got a bridge, a chorus, and a few verses, and you have to kind of come in there. I love that whole process of it. But usually, it's like what you said. The idea is strong enough to drag you through that process because you go, this is a great idea for a story.
Yeah.
This is a great idea for a song. This is a great character. If I was writing a short story or writing a play or some type of thing, and take that and put it into a song. I love doing that. Now, I didn't mean to go off on that rabbit trail, but it sparked me because you were talking about it. It doesn't have to be something about us.
No, not at all.
It's wonderful when those thoughts come in. And I just heard John Hyatt the other day. He played here at the New Grimies.
Oh, okay, sure.
I went over and watched him for first few songs before I had to get to another place. And he was talking about that. He just said, he says, I'll come up with for him, he says it's always a a guitar progression. He says that's usually almost always what he said he did. But then he says he'll come up with this idea and he'll go, well, that's interesting. Let's find out more about that. And so that's how he
just follow it, yeah.
follows it down and comes up with, and he's one of the great storyteller writers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know much about Sean West.
I know a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, he's really, really good at it. But anyway, the idea of that.
Yeah, speaking of that, let's find out more about this. The other day I had my guitar tuned to open tuning, it was open D. And I had forgotten that I was in that, and I went to just do like an A shape.
Yeah.
It's just like the top half of an A chord. Ended up being a 5 minor chord, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's something.
Yeah.
There's something there.
Yeah.
Didn't even mean to play it. And I'm still trying to figure out what to make that song about, though. Like, to be honest, I don't know if I'll figure it out.
So tell me, you have music up on Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them what the address of that is, the URL.
Yeah, it's Sean West. It's spelled SeanWest.bandcamp.com, and there's like a little 4-song.
Yeah, there's 4 songs on there. For You, which is something we're going to talk about in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
The Motivation I've Lost. All of them are great songs. The opening song that you just played for us,
mm-hmm.
When You're Not Around, and Cloudy Day. And I got a chance to see him play a whole set, and
yeah,
but it was really great. He's really got good music. Tell him a little bit more about where people can get a hold of your things.
Yeah, I mean, definitely check out that Bandcamp. That's where I'll be posting new music. But honestly, probably the best way to keep track of like what's happening next, like what shows are coming up, would be my Instagram page, and that's just at who.is.sean.west.
Who.is.Sean.West.
I
told him he had to say that.
Yeah, but yeah, so it's just who is Sean West, a bunch of dots in between.
Yeah, and then you got Facebook is the same.
Yeah, Facebook is the same tag. Facebook is, I still use Facebook, but most of everything is on Instagram these days. So.
Yeah. I was talking, some of the past shows, you've done some shows in the area here. Mm-hmm. You did New Faces at Basement.
Yeah, that's
a kind of a watermark for people in here. I don't know, they wouldn't know this unless you understand the Nashville. But doing the New Faces is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, they get swamped with requests to play there, and it's not easy to get booked.
You get booked in their short sets with 5-6 acts of the night or something like that.
They pack them in
there, and it's really great. And then you did the 5-spot with Floridian Slim.
Mm-hmm.
I always have a problem with their name. Everybody's heard about Floridian Slim. I think we're going to do a band show with them. I've been trying to get Dakota to come in, and I've talked to Tyler. My daughter-in-law Jill is in that band. She's the female in the band. I've tried to get them it's been about 2 months, but they're so busy and they play all the time.
No, it's incredible how many shows they do.
They do shows every
they all
2
work
weeks.
full time too.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
So we just were talking. We're going to probably do a full band. We're going to set them on a couch and just talk about them, and then I'm going to pull all this footage that I have and put together some stuff. But anyway, Flirty Slim, you played with them at 5-spot, and upcoming shows you have again. Bowery Vault?
Yep, Bowery Vault. That'll be November 10th.
You played Bowery Vault before?
I have not. I've been to several shows there. Yeah, I think it's great sound.
We played. Our band played there in May or something. But we're playing again. We got something else coming up in the next month or so. But and then you're doing Crying Wolf with Tony Rainey. Mm-hmm. Tony, you all know Tony because he's been on here twice.
He's been twice, yeah.
We did 2 episodes with him early on. And Eric Filippi. I don't know him. Filippi?
I don't know
who he is.
We're going to find out together. It's going to be
great. Tony is very aggressive and very energetic about booking shows. And so you get to do that, and that's on November 30th.
November 30th, Crying Wolf.
Yes.
In that little back room.
So that's the stuff that's coming up.
Yeah.
Why don't you, anything else you want to talk about? Anything we missed that you would like to get off your chest? Any complaints?
Complaints.
No, I'm only kidding. I don't really.
We talk about these potholes we've been having.
But so we've talked about that. Why don't you introduce the closing song for you?
Yeah. So the last song for you.
Talk right to them. Tell them what it's about, and when you get first of all, I do this every time. Before he does that, we really thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Your support. We appreciate you subscribing. You can watch this video cast on YouTube Stage Crew Records, and you already know that because you're probably doing that. But you can go from there. There's links to the podcast, which is on Podbean, and we are working on building these shows together to get them out on iTunes and all that kind of stuff. But you can go to Podbean, listen to the audio. You can go to the Stagecool YouTube and watch the video. We really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for your support. Thank you. It's about you, and we thank you that you have shown interest and all that. Now I'm going to let you introduce the song. We'll go into the final performance.
So For You, that's the song I'm about to play. It's supposed to be a simple love song. I was aiming to write as catchy of a chorus as I could, but it's trying to distill the emotion and the thought behind I was made for you, and I'm a little bit maybe surprised or a little bit, I guess surprised at how fast I've fallen, and I don't know what's next, but I know that much. I know that I'm here for you, I'm made for you, and I want to stay with you. And that's what the song's about.
Excellent song. We look forward to listening to it, and thank you for being here. See you next week.
You were a springtime flower in a field of weeds, unmistakable and beautiful in crowded company. When you lean in close, I don't know what to do. 10,000 nervous thoughts leave me restless for you. For you. Now the smallest things, like holding your hand, make my heart skip beats, I feel it skipping again. And when you lean in close, I don't know what to do. 10,000 nervous thoughts leave me restless for you.